text, Jesus takes his closest disciples aside to share with them the cosmic teachings about what to expect after death. It is a rare occurrence where Jesus is teaching in literal terms with straightforward diagrams that are not shrouded in allegory. He first draws out the etheric forms of the archons and emanations of God with what look uncannily like modern electrical diagrams, and then names each one and describes its specific purpose. The student is meant to memorize and ritualistically work toward having this knowledge tempered in their mind for the sole purpose of not being fooled by archonic beings that are hostile to the ignorant soul after death. If you are reminded of the Mara and the Bardo Thodol, that was named the Tibetan Book of the Dead after the more ancient Coming Forth by Day, known as the Egyptian Book of the Dead, well, you'd be spot on. Because these three texts, separated by time and distance, all say the same thing. Assuming you are familiar with both the Tibetan and Egyptian Books of the Dead, let's read from this Book of Jehu and see how it parallels. Alright, so it is illustrated, which is rare in Gnostic, and that's like the coolest illustration, but I went through this whole Gnostic text, picked out the juiciest nuggets. This script is very repetitive, so I'm just going to give you the first of each nugget. And when he had given voice, there came forth this voice, which is the emanation. This is his character. He will set up a rank corresponding to the treasuries, and it will place it as watchers at the gates. But again, caused a power from himself to move the true God. At first he caused it to radiate within him so that he might move his emanation in the treasuries, that they also might bring forth emanations. He emanated 12 emanations, and there are 12 heads in each emanation, and this name is that of the 12, and there are 12 according to each one of the ranks, and they are one outside the other endlessly. Just for context, by the way, just for you, Anthony, he got his disciples anti-parasited and then gave them some kind of like hallucinogen to prepare them for death, and said whenever he gets out there, out of their bodies, to get ready and have these sigils ready whenever they meet the archons.
Do you know what type of psychedelic?
No, it doesn't say. It has something to do with, there might be, but it's something that is good with, I'll read it here in a minute, but like frankincense and sage. Might have been Salvia divinorum, dude. You're right. It might have been salvia, which is what they use in the Catholic Church and shit.
Right.
But this is where it gets, this shit gets weird. Alright. When you have come to this place, seal yourselves with this seal. This is its name. Say it only once while the cipher is in your hand, and say this name 3 times, and the watchers and the ranks and the veils are drawn back until you go to the place of their father, and he gives you his seal and his name, and you cross over. Concerning the placing of this treasury, 6 places around it, in the midst of which is these 2 lines which are drawn below his places are thus. They are the root of his places in which he stands. These 2 lines also are the pathways when you will go to the presence of the Father. These alphas are also veils which are drawn before him. So, and this is an important thing too, is that people have this image of the 12 disciples like it's some kind of sausage fest. There were women at this party. Surround me, my 12 disciples and women disciples, so that I say to you the great mysteries of the treasury. These in the invisible God, which no one knows. The aeons of the archons cannot bear it when you perform them, nor are they able to grasp them. But the paralemptia of the treasury of light come, and they bring forth the soul from the body, until they pass through all the aeons, and they erase all sins which they have committed knowingly. And the soul leaps continually from place to place until it reaches the treasury of the light. These mysteries which I shall give to you, guard them and do not give in them to any man except he who is worthy. Neither give them to those who serve the 8 powers of the great archon, who are those who eat the menstrual blood of their impurity and the semen of men. Sorry, Sean. Saying, we have known the knowledge of the truth, and we pray to the true God. However, their God is wicked. This is referring to the Old Testament God? Probably. Hear now that I tell you his position. He is the 3rd power of the great archon. This is his name, Trechius, the son of Sabaoth and Adamus. He is the enemy of the kingdom of heaven. His face is that of a wild pig. His teeth stick out of his mouth, and he has another face of a lion behind him. And I will give to you the mystery of taking away from you the evil of the archons. So far, this is all about knowing the archons better than they know themselves, who are reflections of the disciples, but we'll get to that. Here's where we get a little witchy, and this is very interesting. Jesus offered the incense of the mystery, which took away the evil of the archons from the disciples. He caused them to build an incense altar upon thalassia plants. He laid upon it vine branches and juniper and betel and kuoshi. There's a question mark after kuoshi. We don't know what that is. And asbestos and agate stone and frankincense. And he caused all his disciples to be clothed with linen garments. He caused them to be crowned with mugworts, and he placed frankincense in their mouths. He placed the cipher of the first amen in their hands. They placed their feet together. When Jesus finished sealing his disciples, he spoke the prayer. Hear me and compel Sabaoth, the Adamus, and all his rulers to come and take away their evil from my disciples. All right, guys, so this next bit got flagged by the scanner. We did try it a couple times, and it doesn't seem to want to go through. So we're just going to go ahead and read the translation straight off the page with this phone. And when the evil of the archons ceased within them, the disciples became immortal. Jesus said, I will give to you the defense, for all these places of which I have given you their mystery, their ciphers and their true names and their defenses. When you come forth from the body and perform these mysteries, all the aeons and all those within them will withdraw themselves. But when you reach the 6 aeons, they will restrain you until you receive the mystery of the forgiveness of sins, because it is the innermost of the innermost. And they see the seal on your foreheads, and they see the cipher in your hands. Then the 9 watchers open you to the gates of the treasury of light. The watchers will not speak with you, but they will give you their seals and their mystery. When you reach the rank of the 3 amens will give you their seal. When you go to the rank of the child, they will give to you their mystery. When you reach the rank of the twin saviors, they will give to you their mystery and their seal and the great name. You will go within to their interior, to the rank of the 7 voices, to the rank of the incomprehensible ones, to the rank of the pre-hyper incomprehensible ones, to the rank of the pre-hyper endless ones, to the rank of the undefiled ones, to the rank of the pre-hyper undefiled ones, to the rank of the unmoved ones. Go in to their interior, to the rank of the hyper unmoved ones. When you reach that rank, they will give to you their mystery and their seal and the great name of the treasury of light. What's important here is that in the Coptic, this going within like Russian dolls, layers like an onion, this keeps going. I'm going to leave out a lot of it. but it goes on and on and on, which is eerily reminiscent of Kabbalistic layers of reality that is described as an onion, which is weird that we can compare it to the Kabbalistic system. These diagrams are reminiscent of a lot of Kabbalistic diagrams. So, and this is where this gets weirder and weirder. These are their names of the rulers, which are the archons, and it's all Z's and buzzing noises, which these sigils look like electrical diagrams. So it's very strange that their names sound like electricity. That's just conjecture. These now are their true names. Hear us, our Father. The whole which came forth from Alpha will return to Omega. When the completion of all completions takes place, we now call upon these imperishable names, so that thou shouldest send forth this great light power to follow these 12 incomprehensible ones who are the 12 disciples, since they have recovered the mystery. One of the most telling parts of any Gnostic gospel. Now that these disciples have been dewormed, and whatever else was in these potions and whatnot, they have become not synonymous with the aeons, but are quite literally the aeons themselves. And because of all of this, indeed, they are not restrained from approaching the treasury of light. And this entire thing is meant to pierce each layer deeper and deeper until you get to this treasury of light. And of course, for that, you'll have to get through Yaldabaoth, the Demiurgos. And I keep saying this gets weirder and weirder. This gets weirder. When you come forth from the body and you reach the first aeon, and the archons of that aeon come forth before you and seal yourselves with this seal. This is its name. Say it only once. Hold this cipher in your two hands when you have finished sealing yourselves with the seal, and you have said its name once only. Say these defenses. Also withdraw yourselves. You archons of the first aeon, because I call upon, and then these names. When the archons of the first aeon hear these names, they will be very afraid, and they will withdraw and flee to the west, to the left, and you will proceed upwards. The third aeon, Yaldabaoth. This is its name. Hold this cipher. The fourth aeon, Samael. Seal yourselves with this seal. This is its name. Say it only once. Hold this cipher. Reach the sixth aeon, which is called the Little Midst. The archons of those places have a little goodness within them, because the archons of those places have believed. The archons of the Little Midst come before you thinking that perhaps you don't know the mysteries, thinking that perhaps you have not received the mysteries. Say the mystery and seal yourselves with this seal, which is thus. This is its name. Say it once only. Hold this cipher in your hands. Those archons will withdraw, and they will make way for you, and they will not seize hold of you. But they will also rejoice with you in great joy, because you have received the mysteries while you were still in the body. That is probably the most important takeaway. When you reach the 12th aeon, the invisible God is in that place with Barbello and the unbegotten God. In a place alone in the 12th aeon, these veils are drawn before him. Seal yourselves with this seal. Say its name. Say it only once. Hold this cipher in your hands. There's a lot to unpack there that can't be unpacked in a YouTube video. This is the kind of thing that, whether it's psychological, whether it's hallucinogens, whether it's religious, whether it's scientific, we don't know. to be frank, it doesn't sound very Christian. So we see that some kind of ritual using those various stones and plants were needed to purify all the disciples, men and women, in the flesh before they could even think about approaching higher aeons or realms. Perhaps these dark entities have anchor points in the form of parasites within all earthly people who are born in original sin or worldly life and flesh. Throughout the book of Jehu, Jesus stresses the importance of having the knowledge needed to recognize by name and attributes the various levels of aeons and the archons that rule them, in order to not be surprised or afraid when finally encountering them. He makes it clear that understanding these post-death obstacles prepares the soul with a kind of stoic gnosis that the parasitical archons themselves are afraid of. This text not only acts as a sort of dewormer for the soul, but again directly parallels other so-called books of the dead from all over the world that also give literal and specific instructions to the ears of those who will soon try their hand at escaping a system of soul recycling. The resemblance is so impossible to ignore that it makes me wonder why so many people torture themselves with speculation over what happens after we die. It just so happens that numerous texts that line up with each other and modern NDEs have it mapped out verbatim. It's no wonder that years before, Plato felt it was so important to dedicate his earthly life to a practical philosophy, being in an age and setting before the arrival of Christ. The ideals embodied and dedicated to self-sacrifice and service to others was found in Stoicism, a cornerstone of Greek philosophy and a surefire way of ridding ourselves of potential mental parasites while still wearing a temporary human suit. In Gnosticism, the archons, or rulers of this realm, are parasitical because they sustain themselves by keeping human people mentally weak and thus easy to contain. However, the popular term used for this is louching. It is important to note that the so-called term louche is never mentioned in Gnostic text, or any other ancient text for that matter. How this term found its way into the Gnostic conversation is actually far more interesting. Robert Monroe directed studies on out-of-body experiences that were compiled in his 1985 book, Our Journey.